Am I here? I appear to be here. Do. What is today? Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. Got some more of this. What is this? Island Punch Spinger for the working man. Okay, got my glasses in case I need them. Got some extra water. Got my playtest doc that I'm adding some more stuff into and trying to get through and finish. This is probably something I didn't discuss before, but I kind of been leaning into or wanting to lean into the humors and the elements and those fun ancient and medieval, um, what would you even call them? Philosophical medicines, medical philosophies? I'm not sure. I'm doing the simplest version here, which is basically the four elements that are associated with different things, which basically end up being the humors, but I'm sticking with the elements. I think they're a little bit easier, and the elements rather than it's really more about the terminology because they end up being the same thing. Sanguine and phlegmatic stuff. Those are fun, and I do want to get into maybe more of those specifically, but probably not in this version of the rules. In this version of the rules, I will probably just stick with the elements. They kind of map to the same things anyway. And I'm using some other astrological stuff that I'm kind of slipping and sliding in here because a lot of the astrological signs also slot into the elements. Hey, Ian. This is so this is the same playtest. Yes. Ian asked if it's the same playtest rules I ran at the store. They are. Now, I hadn't finished it, and obviously it's still not finished. And I think one of the nice things with my rules is I was able to pretty much just have them go through character generation, explain a little bit, and I didn't have to, hand them a booklet. They didn't really have anything to look up. The kind of thing they were asking was, well, when I had, because I just have a skill written as a name, like, oh, what does this mean? Spellcraft, what does it mean? Like, it's casting spells. Oh, okay. Something like that. This I didn't have written down at all, so I wouldn't have done it the other day. And it's also something that I might, and I will definitely be running more kind of games playing this. It may be more an advanced kind of feature, but essentially when you're going through and you're creating your character, you've got a couple things working. You have your attributes, but remember it's only a plus or minus one in dice. So if your first level starts with one die, if you happen to roll exceptional strength, which I call arms, it's just plus one die. So then you have two dice, but that is actually a big deal at first level. It's essentially like you're playing at second level whenever you're doing something with strength. There are a few ways to get more, to kind of broaden what you have. So obviously, the game, it's really more, I feel like I would call it skill focused because it's really less about your attributes. You're not going to be doing a lot of rolling under attributes. Yes, yield, bend bars, lift gates would be a straight arms check. But most everything else is going to be some kind of relevant skill. They're very broad, right? But you're doing something. I don't have athletics, so running would be legs. Doing just pure strength of skill. But I think most of the stuff's going to come down to more or less sort of skills. And so you get this range of stuff, knowledge, practical things you're good at, practical doings. That is, what I call lores is the knowledge, and craft is the kind of skill stuff. And basically your classes are just these little packets of a couple of crafts, a couple of lores, and right now that's kind of it. And then really just comes down to when you're trying different things, kind of what is the closest thing to it. I mean, remember we're only rolling dice if it's something that I'm not going to roll dice for I call challenges, right? Those are for really things that are challenging, have negative consequences and all this stuff. So a lot of the simpler stuff you're kind of just getting, but when it becomes kind of nut check time, or maybe gut check time, or whatever you're going, when the rubber meets the road and you need to really figure something out, you're going to want to build up that dice pool, and your dice pool is going to be built up using those attributes, but the bonuses to each die, which is probably the more consequential thing over time, is going to be through the stuff you're sort of good at. But I wanted to have more ways of kind of having more dice, because I know that one die at first level, it's not a lot, especially when you got to roll sixes to do stuff, which is, if you're not pulling anything specific that you're good at, rolling sixes is the best scenario, because if it's something like you're really unfamiliar, like you're pretty much anything sort of really outside your frame of knowledge, then you're halving your dice pool, which would start you off at 0, and then you'd have to get at least one die just to get 1, and then you got to roll 6. So the odds are not great. So I have a couple things. So one, I want to balance the fact that if you do end up with no positives, or your positives and you have positives and negatives equally, or you might even have just a negative and not a positive, that's where that kind of gift comes in, like the bone-tongued and these different things, is to give you, it's not as generically broadly as applicable as, say, having +1 in your strength or arms, but in certain situations, and I think that one actually is probably a pretty strong one, since you're going to run into a lot of dead things, either of your own making, because you killed somebody, or you're running into skeletons, or just remains that you want to do. That's pretty good, right? So you get that as kind of what I want to do is just sort of balance it out, right? I think the way this is configured, I suppose you could get someone that's unplayable if you have a whole bunch of negatives. I suppose I could even say, hey, if you've got, I don't know what it would be, if you're a -3 or 4, then go ahead and take a second gift. Could be another way to do it. Like, the idea is, I don't want you to have, I'm trying to kind of avoid the unplayable character, whether it becomes officially unplayable or just practically unplayable. So that's kind of one way to get you a little more, could be synergy, but also I do appreciate having a broad range of stuff. Like, hey, I'm not just good at this one thing. And that was one of the interesting things I was discussing with those two guys on Tuesday, was when they were making their characters, like, hey, you could do this, and if you do that, you get to kind of, you get this sort of synergy, because you've got these two things that are related, but you could also be broader and be a little bit better at two things, or you could have a significantly be better at one thing. And there are pros and cons to each one. And I think one of them chose to kind of double down on something they already had, and then one of them chose to broaden. I think it worked out pretty well. But I'm not trying to get into the the character optimization game either, but obviously it's a fine line. So between the gifts that give you something more specific than the broad attributes, but it's can be something that when you in a certain context could be contextually pretty strong. This affinities is another thing, where it's another way to get some dice and get some flavor. That's the other thing, right? I skipped over. So your gifts give you, potentially, if you get them, because you might not, give you a little extra something that in a specific situation might be situationally useful, but not necessarily universally or broadly useful. You have your attributes that give you broadly useful dice, but that's about it. Your class is going to give you not dice, because that comes from your level, but they're going to give you bonuses to your dice on some things. So you're going to get some things that you get bonuses to your dice, some things which you get to do without sort of penalties, and then that's split between knowledge, which I call lores, and skills, which I call crafts. These affinities, it's another way. It's and I also have origins, and your origins give you another choice of a couple of things that you are familiar with, and that's where you could double down. Like, oh, I'm playing a paladin, which means I have this forbidding, like turn undead. If I happen to roll and be an acolyte, that was my origin, I was an acolyte, then that also gives me forbidding. So then I could do double forbidding, and that gives me some extra juice on my forbidding, or I could pick a different skill. But I think the player who played a magician took acolyte, and instead of doubling down on one of their magician type skills, they picked forbidding, which actually worked pretty well, and they worked it. They used forbidding, even though it's reduced from what they would have gotten as a full-fledged paladin. Their acolyte level of forbidding allowed them to turn one of the undead down there, and they tried a couple times, only worked once, but still, once is better than nothing. So that's it. And so now affinities are another way to get dice and also add some more flavor. So your origin kind of tells you what you were doing before you were adventuring. So in the case if you're a magician, you used to be an acolyte, and you picked forbidding, so it kind of tells a story of, okay, maybe you were you were studying in a temple or church or whatever your setting has, and then you sort of get lured into more esoteric, arcane arts, and so you leave your apprenticeship in the church or temple, and you go off and you start going down the path of becoming a wizard. And you kind of get that. That's a nice little story that you have leading, and as you become try and go down that path of magician, that's what leads you in adventuring. And it's a nice little story, and you just get that through having this origin and this class, right, put together. Affinities give you a little bit of that too, because they're going to give you something you're good at. They're going to give you kind of a vulnerability, again, based on these elements. If you end up having affinity for fire, you're getting a vulnerability to water. And it doesn't mean that you touch water, you start taking damage. But since I have spells that are alignment that have affinities also, there are water spells, fire spells, earth spells, air spells, and then different creatures. When I get to putting down some monsters, they will also have similar things. You can have some fun ways these things will intersect, in which you are a fire person and charm. I think. Let's see, what's charm? For example, I mean, charm is, well, I mean, I'm not averse to having spells cast on players, but I probably wouldn't. Let's see, bewitch is always fire. So yeah, so okay, so the fire person would have extra defense against bewitching because that's playing to his strength. Whereas if he was going for drowsing, he'd be vulnerable. So it's another way of adding some flavor, adding some stuff, right? But pretty. I try to do kind of low impact, right? These are things that you can write down very briefly. They give you something, so you're going to want to keep track of it. And as the GM, I can just ask like, "Oh, hey, this is a fire spell. Oh no, I'm a water person. All right, well, it's a little bit harder for you to resist that because he's using water or whatever it happens to be." And then the same thing with creatures. Not something I'm necessarily have to do all. I mean, for spells and things, which who knows in your campaign if they would come up a lot or a little, you can play into it. But this is kind of the last one of these kind of character generator type things. But I just think I guess what I appreciate about these and what I hope it does, my goal, I guess, is to give some usability, give some stuff without adding a whole lot. Because you can write down. I mean, if you get, I can never remember the symbols, so I would write down fire. Maybe I put fire/water on my sheet, but it just adds a little thing on your sheet. And then it's for you as the player, you got to keep track of it. Like if in terms of helping you, it's not going to be on me or someone as a referee to keep reminding you. You have to do it. I might even actually suggest doing that even with the negative to say, look, this is going to be player based. If you call out the fact that you are, you're vulnerable, then I'll kick you. Well, I'm calling fate, which is basically that inspiration, which I wasn't really intending to use the other night, but it just kind of seemed the right thing to do. So now I'm writing it down. It seemed the right thing to do. The character meets a challenge with their positive foundation. They gain a die. When a character complicates a challenge with their negative foundation, okay. I think that's all right. I think that's it. So now I can put I guess I'll do it in a table. Or do I want to put it in a table? Let me see. Hold on a minute. I got some stuff in another window. Let me try to see. No, maybe I'll just put it as I'll just do it. I think a table is probably the easiest. Especially for kind of a quick start, I think. I think that's probably easier. I'm not going to need all these columns. But let me, here we go. And then let's see, what do I need? So, and the other thing is, I'm not sure what dice notation I'm going to need. Yeah, because there's 4 signs and I got 6. I got 6 dice, so I can't do 3, can't do 6. Is there a way to do it with 12 if I do 2d6 and let me put some things in here first. So I'll leave that blank maybe for numbers. Let's see. So I'll just put fire. Hold on a minute. What am I having there? That's okay. Yeah, fire. Let's see. Earth. Air. Water. That means I don't need all these extras. This is the sign. Let's see. So I need, I'm going to need another. Yeah, I think I'm going to need another column. So sign, this would be, let's see what I say. Positive foundation. Ooh. I'll just call it plus. What if there's a, oh yeah, I did bring up that. What did I say it was? They have a foundation and a flaw. So maybe I don't need another column. Was I wrong on needing another column? What, had I lied to myself? I don't know. Hey, Brian Smith. Earth, Wind, and Fire, great group. Yep, probably would make a good, a good a good gaming group as well. Good party. Are they any good? I'm just curious. I've got these alchemical symbol font, which is really cool. I wonder if there's anything good for that for the. I mean, that's not good, but at least it's interesting. Is there a better kind of interesting? I wonder what. Hold on a minute. Let me see here. What if I say alchemical symbols for adding and subtracting? Is there anything? Is there some different symbols I can use? I don't think there is. I think the symbols are all about stuff. Am I right? To take. All right, so there's something called sublimate. Hold on a minute. Let me pull up this site. Oh. Okay, well, I found this. I don't know if this will work. What does it give? Where's my glasses here? What is this? I just want to see the image. I'm not trying to. What the heck? Does that work? That page isn't working. Well, what good are you then? Well, maybe that isn't a good sign then. Shoot. All right, to solve, to take. All right, let's try this. Alchemical symbol. Alchemical process symbols. There's the one I already had. What is this one? Those are not. Oh my gosh. Alchemical symbols again. Okay, here. Oh, that's acid. I mean, acid could work. Mix. All right, so this one's got, let's see, some planetary mundane elements. Here we go, processes. fixation, solution, digestion, distillation, sublimation, separation, ceration, fermentation, multiplication. I just want let's one kind of add. This one had add, to solve, to take. What the heck is the difference between to solve and to take? More. God, these. Oh my gosh. I mean, acid to eat away might be kind of a negative. Are there alchemical symbols for positive and negative? Does such a thing exist? Oh, simple. Okay, well, there's study of symbols. Let's see. Is this actually any good? Processes. Burning away impurities, dissolution, conjunction, fermentation, distillation. Okay. Spiritual alchemy, personal transformation. Is this going to take me somewhere interesting or not? No, I don't want chakra symbols. Thank you. All right. I guess I'm just going to use positive and negative. I can't think of nothing else is really coming to mind. Calcination, congelation, fixation, solution, digestion, distillation, sublimation. Sublimation work? Now watch I find one that I actually like and then I can't find that I don't have it. Yeah, sublimation could work for the positive ones, but then what about the negative ones? Serration? Cut? Am I reading that correctly? Oh, no. No, that's creation. I'm talking about serration. All right, so according to Wikipedia, serration is a chemical process, a common practice in alchemy to form a continuously adding liquid by imbibition to a hard, dry substance while heated. Typically, this treatment makes the substance softer, more like molten wax. Perfectionist explains that serration is the mollification of a hard thing, not fusible into liquefaction. Stresses the important. Okay. All right. What about? Oh, there's incineration. Oh, that's just. All right. So I'm looking back at. Where was it? Okay. Let me put this back in the window. I'm looking back over here. So sublimation looks good. Serration. What about calcination? Is that here? What does that one give me? High temperature to burn lime. I want something that has more of a, I don't know if that, I mean, I could see that kind of having a little bit of a negative thing, but I don't know. I want something solution, digestion, sublimation, separation, serration, fermentation, multiplication, projection. I don't know. Let's see if I can find an article on alchemical. Okay, well, oh, that's the AI. Here we go. 7 operations of, oh, look at that, from the Alchemy Guild of Ohio. All right. I like that picture too. All right, here we go. Maybe this will work. Actually, what is this? So we've got, okay, there we have. All right. Rectificando. Okay. Let's see. Our operation 1, calcination. Let's see, which works on fire to burn away dross and reveal hidden essences. Okay, that doesn't sound bad to me. Not bad. All right, dissolution. The second circle depicts the operation of dissolution. It shows the black crow watching itself dissolve before its eyes reveal its white or pure part, reflecting back from the pool of dissolution is the white image of the soul bird, which is exposed during its operation. This is still the black phase of alchemy, and the process of purification continues. In the outer ring next to the circle is the word interiora, meaning the operation takes place. Okay. Wow, images of dissolution called retorts, tears, menstruation, floods, melting, orgies, Mother Nature, water springing from the earth, plants blooming with 7 flowers, poisonous toads, the king swimming naked. All right, demons. All right, so I'm going to put dissolution. All right, so what is the symbol for dissolution? Can I find that symbol here? I think that's going to be close enough. And then can I find it in my font? So dissolution is where? All right, it's no. It's not on this list. Okay, what is the... maybe I could find it in another one. No. All right, hold on a minute. Let's see. Symbol for dissolution. Be specific. Maybe that'll help us. Basic alchemy. Come on, man. I'm being specific. Can't you help me? Oh, this has got a bunch. Does that mean it's going to be better or worse? Let's see. What does it have? Okay, yes, might be. Here we go. I guess it would be dissolve, right? Dissolution to dissolve. Precipitate, distill, dissolve, purify, putrefaction. Sublimation is this one. Precipitation. I mean, that kind of works pretty well as sort of opposites I was going to go, as opposed to those. Okay, let me see if I could find, now I go, okay, now here's the second thing. Can I find that on my list? My thing here. So I've got some symbols here, but I don't know if it's all encompassing. I'm trying to find a line and a sort of a bump. What is that one? Unfortunately, it doesn't tell me what these things are. Are these all? What is one with aquavitide? No, oh my gosh. I don't know enough about this stuff. Oh, there's one. All right, now does it have the opposite? Tell me you've got both. Oh, no, there you are. Oh, there. Whoo, here we go. Okay, good. So positive foundation is this one, and the negative foundation is... Okay. That means like, and all right. I'm still gonna have to figure out this part of it, the dice, but I will deal with the dice later. Everything was fine until the Fire Nation got a +1 attack. That happens. That happens. All right, let's just put that there like that. All right, so we got our, and I guess I don't need this column unless there's something I'm not thinking of. So you have positive, you have a negative, and I said a flaw, right? Or did I get rid of the flaw, just have positive and negative? All right, I'm going to get rid of this for now. Okay. All right, now we're back on track. We are back on track. Oh, yeah, right. So now, so you get to pick. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this as a spark kind of table. So I'm going to let you pick. I'm going to let you pick. Because I'm good. I'm nice like that. So for let's see, we'll have courage. Ugh, I might need to put this in a smaller text too. No style. Let's see, courage or what could be another one? Or confident. I suppose I should say courageous. Courageous or confident. Then for earth, we'll say I did it again. Patient. Did I spell courageous wrong? I must have. It's telling me I did. But it's not letting me click. All right. What are you doing? Did I forget the E? Is there a E in there? So, all right. So for Earth, let's see. I'm kind of just eyeballing the side list I have of some patient or disciplined. Air, we can have let's see. That one's a harder one. Let's see. What does water have? So I'm looking at these. I'm kind of looking at what the different signs that are associated with to give myself the spark table. So in the zodiac signs, you have the different zodiac are attached to the elements, or they have elemental relationships. So, for example, air is Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. Water is Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. And earth is Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. And fire is Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. So I'm kind of looking at this list of some of the things that you get with different signs to give you a choice. I'm not giving 3, I'm just giving 2, but I'm trying to pick the 2. Now, the ones I'm seeing here, I might need to drill into more detailed. Let's go here. I'll just pull this down so I don't have to have a bunch of my tabs open. All right, so if we come here, we've got fire. So some of these to me don't really make a whole bunch of sense for kind of gameable things. So, I'm not going to do enthusiasm or spontaneous. That's up to you as a player. I don't even know, because these are things that ideally will get mechanized potentially in some way. Or not, that's not really what I mean. What I mean by that is you as a player can call upon something and say, I want to use my courage to do something. Actually, I'm gonna swap out courage for passion. I think that's actually better for my purposes here. I am passionate, and I can use my passion to stir somebody to do something, or I can use my confidence. The whole idea behind these, I guess, just to kind of these foundational things, is that you as a player say, hey, I'm trying to convince the king to lend us a horse to go do something. And you want to call upon, in a similar way that you might see in a Pendragon type campaign, I want to call upon my whatever. So in this case, you say, I am passionate. I'm going to call upon my passion to really do this. Hey, Croco. And that has a meaning, right? You are passionate. So you get an extra die. If there was some kind of role, in a social situation, I guess I'm not necessarily saying that there would be kind of a social role mechanic, but maybe in the reaction role or something, you say, you know what, I'm passionate and I want and I want to lead with my passion, and that will help. Or do whatever. Or maybe to say, I need to make a last attack, or I need to rally the troops or do something, and I need my passion. I'm going to be passionate, right? The idea of Gandalf with was it Narya, the Ring of Fire? He's stirring the passions of people. You could do that. Or your confidence. You're going to step, you want to, some orcs are stepping up to you, and you're going to step up and you want to try to kind of scare them away, and you want to, I want to exude this confidence. like, all right, confident. Something like that. So this would be something for you to call upon as a player. It tells you something. I mean, it tells you something about yourself, your character. Oh, you're passionate or they're confident, whatever. It also gives you something that has a mechanical hook attached to it. You got to pick one. So not all of the ones for these different things have something that I feel like is a hook. Hit him with the wizard stick, Croco says, yeah, you can do that too. So passionate is good. Enthusiastic and temperamental. Temperamental I would imagine is a sort of be on and the flip side would be with the negative ones like temperamental or I don't know, something like that, like grouchy, whatever, would be one that I would never force you, at least me as the would never be to force you to say, you're grouchy, do this. But if you as a player decided to take on an extra complication in a particular challenge, like you're dealing with the king and he's kind of not really coming on board, and you say, you know what, I'm temperamental, I'm going to start rolling my eyes or stamping my foot or doing something like that, then which makes things worse, I'll give you an inspiration type thing. And of course, in real life, when you're doing that, try to keep your other players and stuff in mind. Just start an 8, but you get in it, you don't get advantage in that challenge, but at the end of it all, you'll get inspiration, which you can get kind of fate, which you can use for all kinds of fun stuff. So hopefully it gives you a reason to want to engage with the negative sides too. But I'm really leaving it completely up to the player as to whether they want to do that or not. So, okay, so what did I have? So for fire, I've got passionate or confident. Earth, patient or disciplined. And then discipline might be one too. Like maybe something's going on. And this could also, and the thing is, I mean these to be practical, but also metaphorical. If you can turn patient into something that would help you, I'm here for it. Say like, okay, something's trying to lure me in, and they did that, but I'm patient, so I'm going to be less apt to listen to, or whatever it is, right? Whatever it is. I mean, that's really the thing is, as a player, you figure out how to make it work, how you think it would work, and then you talk to your referee, and you guys may, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense, or it doesn't really make sense, and then you go with it. But they're meant to be kind of open, more or less open-ended and broad, and not super specific. But in any case, so we got fire and earth, I think. Obviously, these will be subject to change as I get more info and think about it. But I need air and water. So here we're getting social, observant. I feel like that would just kind of get abused too much. I don't know what adventuring would mean. Where you're doing adventurous, or in this context, is everything's adventurous? Let's see. So I could go with underwater. This says emotional. So one of my other things says compassionate. Compassion, I think, could work as one. So I will. What is that one? That's a water one. So I'll throw compassionate in there as one to get that one. If anyone happens to have a good link to something with some of these, I'm welcome to it. Water also has got things like intuitive. I also don't want to have something that's going to be like, the one be abused. Like, oh, I'm like this. So like, I'm intuitive. So I'm going to roll intuition like, that's not how I want it to be. So I want things that are a little bit more specific. So Aquarius has stuff like humanitarian, sociable, diplomatic could work. That's an air. Do I need to check some other sources? Where did I have that thing? Okay. What else? So I need water and air still. Social, observant, creative, adventurous. Let's see. Let's try this. Personality traits for each. I know that's probably not good. I'm going to probably figure out what I want. 5 elements personality types. Empathic connector. Empathetic. I'll give something a little bit more concrete. Let's see if I can do this a little bit differently. Or maybe traits. Happy Reuben. Okay. Air are, let's see. They're not giving me specifics. They don't silence their phones. I don't care. More keywords. Nah. No. There's an article on Medium. Oh, let's see. Positivity, masculine. No, let's see. No, yeah, energy. I get it. Passion. I got that already. No. Here we go. So yeah, reckless. So I can add that one in. There's one. Let's see. They're reckless, and I guess that's kind of impatient. Traits for air. Wit, knack for logical communication, fostering curiosity, weaving together complex. Let's see. They are mad scientists. Articulate. What do I have for? I've got diplomatic. I don't think that gives me much more than what I got already. Let's see. I don't know if I like any of that one. For me, they are empathetic. Empathetic, I guess, would work for water. Did I already put that one down? That's kind of compassionate, right? I feel like empathetic and compassionate are more or less. Let's see. Brian asks, I'm making a table of personality traits to associate with elements for roleplay. Yes, plus. Yes, they're for roleplay. You can also use them for mechanical, to get a little mechanical advantage. And there's also a flip side as well. So not just. That is an element of the elements. Let's see. Stubborn. Okay, that's a good one. A -1 for Earth. Stubborn. There's some weird fluky things with tables in Affinity. And this one where it I don't know, it sets your font as something else. And watch, if I leave, well, I mean, you might not be able to see it. If I even come back, it's like, because I didn't put a character in there, it doesn't stick. If I forget to do it, it's really annoying. Especially for, I don't know, maybe some other folks, depending on what you're making in this, you're not using a lot of tables or any tables, so it doesn't really matter. But for me, for people like doing like I would imagine RPG stuff where you probably have a bunch of tables, it can be kind of annoying. All right, so we got reckless and stubborn, but I want a spark table of 2 for each, so I gotta kind of keep going for 2. Gotta go for 2. Bold. Okay, I got passionate, or I like bold actually instead of confident. I will put bold instead. That's good. Patient or disciplined. I think those are good. Air. Social. I kind of like diplomatic. I feel like it's a little bit more limited. Brian says, is the idea if you use a personality trait to your detriment, you gain inspiration or something? Right. Yes, Brian, that would be exactly correct. The idea here is I, as the referee, will never look at your sheet, or if I know your character sheet and say, you're stubborn, so you can't do this. I would never do that. But what I would encourage is if you as a player say, you know what, I'm stubborn, so I'm not going to do this thing, or I'm going to make it. And it actually has consequences. not you're just doing it like as a little character thing. When you're doing it at a time when it actually has a meaning, when it is meaningful, and you do it, then yeah, you get an inspiration of sorts. So reckless obviously is one that's pretty easily. I think you can close your eyes and imagine. I mean, that one might be too easy as players to act recklessly, but you're going to have to call it out as a player. It's not, you can't do it after the fact. Like, hey, that was reckless. Do I get it? Whatever. It's like, no, you have to call out the fact that you are embracing your recklessness and doing that. Right. So you have to call it out. You do it and you'll get a thing. You'll get a little, gold star. And these will give you, so it's just, again, another way of adding dice, but it's limited because it only give you one die. So when you're lower level, like your first level, getting extra dice can be, you need to. I mean, when you're first level, and in the game I ran on Monday night, this certainly came up. The more dice you can get, it's vital to get as many dice as you can pretty much every time. Because for a lot of things you're doing, especially in the case of my two players, neither one, you don't have to fight anything in that adventure. But I think it's easy, especially if you're in the D&D mindset, to kind of go fight stuff. And there's nothing wrong with fighting, and there's totally plenty of opportunities. And when you're in situations you don't have a fighter, they don't have a warrior, they only had a magician and a burglar. So both of them need to roll 6s to hit stuff. And just for a lot of stuff they're doing, got to roll 6s. Now it's only 16%. So how do you in my system, how do you mitigate that 16%? Is start getting dice. You can help each other, do a lot of teamwork kind of stuff. That will get you a die if he's helping you or you're helping them. Great, that's a die. Can you use a tool or something? Great, you want to get it. And so this is another way of saying, what, I'm going to embrace the fact that I'm disciplined. Like it could be that, hey, I'm trying to sneak. I'm not trying to be quiet, but you know what? I'm disciplined, or I'm patient, so I can move really slowly and be really careful because I'm like that. Then okay, great. You get an extra die. So but when you get to third, fourth, whatever upper, you get more levels in you. Not that you don't necessarily still want as many dice as you can get, but it's not as important to do this. But the idea is that it also does give you a little bit more to flesh out your character. The character creation in this system is very fast. You're gonna roll through, okay, this, that, and the other. You're gonna roll 66 to get your attributes, because I'm only using one die for, and it's mostly gonna be 0. It's just if you get a 1 or 6, you get a thing. You might get a gift, which is just a D66. So you roll 2d6, you're gonna write that down, and then you would do this part. So it's you fit on a note card, and it's very small, so that's fast. But at the end of it, you will end up with a little story. And I mentioned you probably weren't, you might not have been in it time, but I mentioned when I was playing on Monday, we had the magician who ended up with the origin of being an acolyte, and so it tells the story of, they were an acolyte working for a temple, and they decide to switch gears, and they got lured into study of magic. The other character had a background of a mason's apprentice, because they had the apprentice background, and they picked, in terms of their knowledge that they had, masonry, so they were a mason's apprentice before they went to a life of burglary. And actually in the adventure, it came up because one of the prisoners in the scenario, they wake up and there are some cells nearby, and one of the guys locked in the cells is a mason. And so it's like, oh, you're a mason. This is that you've seen this guy. He's not your master, but you've seen him around. You're like, that guy. And it became this kind of funny thing of him having this relationship with this character because of this little shared background. So it gave him a nice little grounding, even though it's just a one shot and everything. I like that you get this little kind of story out of it, but it's very fast. I also like that too. It's very fast. You don't, and especially in terms of a one shot, you don't have to go through and say, like, where are you from? Who's your? It's like you don't need to come up with all this stuff because it's not really going to matter. I mean, obviously you can as a player if you suddenly get a bolt of inspiration, say, oh, I was whatever, go for it. But it gives you something. This is another way to kind of, and I didn't have this because I knew I wanted to have it, but I didn't have it ready enough to bring with me. But this is another way of giving you something that you can use mechanically, giving you something that also at the same time gives you some little characterization. So you can be a patient magician who was whatever, they were an apprentice, they were now a magician, they are patient but stubborn kind of thing, or whatever. right? So, you get some different things. Now, I still need some. So water, I got the intuitive. I don't like sensitive. I don't know. Air being social. I feel like that's too broad. So we got reckless for fire. Arrogant is a good one. All right. What is anything good for earth? Let's see. What is a good? What are the earth signs again? Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn. Taurus. So we got stubborn. I got all that already. Taurus. What is it? Virgo is earth? Oh, I didn't know. I would have thought Virgo was something else. Judgmental, harsh, heartless, and Capricorn, ruthless. Sure, stubborn or ruthless. All right, at least I'm getting some of the stuff here now. Air, I've got diplomatic. The air signs are Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. So, Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. A lot of indecisives come up, but that doesn't work, I don't think. Well, indecisive, actually, yeah, we could use indecisive. I could see that being, I did it again. I could see that being something that's gameable. Indecisive, or what did I say? Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. Rebellious, unpredictable. Rebellious? Sure. And then okay, am I gonna, oh, how did I misspell rebellious? Is it two L's? Okay, say that. And then let's see, water. Water signs are Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces. Cancer, moody. What did I say? Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces. Scorpio, vengeful is a good one. All right. Or what is Pisces? Does Pisces have something good? Escapist, idealistic, indecisive again. Scatterbrained, avoids reality. I mean, okay. Selfish. All right. Now I need some positives, though. I still need some positives. So, okay, so water, Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, and positive stuff for cancers like nurturing, caring. Nurturing? That air? Hold on. I get confused about what's what. All right. Air, Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. How is Aquarius air when I feel like it has water in its very name? Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. Aquarius. Gemini, Libra. Charming, just. Okay, I'll use just. Out for justice. And then water. Going back to water, I know Pisces is one, right? So it's going to be Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, right? Cancer obviously also makes sense. So, Cancer's got the nurturing. I got compassionate. Pisces also has compassionate, which that doesn't help. Kindness is kind of the same thing. Adaptable, selfless. Okay, selfless is good. What was the last one? Scorpio. Scorpio is another one. This doesn't ring to me as water, but sure. Determined, resilient, loyal. So between the two, selfless or determined, passionate or bold, patient or disciplined, diplomatic or just, compassionate. Interesting. Maybe because he's selfish, I wouldn't want you to have. You can't have selfless and selfish. So I guess I won't do selfless. But maybe determined. Yeah, determined seems to match up with either one of those. Okay. Great. Now, what was I thinking to do with the flaw? What was I going to do with the flaw? Oh, I don't even remember. Because I've been mucking around with different versions of the verbiage, and I think maybe flaw I just have turned into the positive and negative, the foundation and the flaw. I'll have to try to strip my. But I still need to do now the next part. How can I get this? So if I do, and I'm doing D6s, so I need to try to figure out how to do this in the D6. Actually, you know what? I got something here. I got something. Right. So there's a couple ones and they're opposites, right? So earth and air are opposites, fire and water are opposites. All right, so I know. So I think I can actually do this. Fire flaw is pyromania. I'm not trying to be. See, that to me is way too specific. Whoops. And that's kind of part of I think, the problem. I don't know why there are no numbers in this particular font. And I want to avoid that. I don't want to make. I want things like complicate. Like I don't mind complications. Like in that game on, I guess, I'm using like a lot. I always tell my daughter, don't use like too much. In the game on Tuesday, okay, the player, the magician, had a lot of fun utilizing their circumstances to create complications. And it was a lot of fun, and the other player was totally on board. I don't want it to turn into something that becomes too much a rote thing. I also don't want to have something that lends itself too much to somebody being kind of a one note kind of jerk. Being a pyromaniac is just going to have somebody who's just lighting fires all the time. Now, in some games, that's fine. In a lot of things, that's annoying. And I think it's also, very surface level. My hope is that having these kinds of positive and negatives will have people thinking about how to do that. You have to put a little bit of thought, just a little bit of thought, into how to manifest your passion or your boldness and not just, I light the drapes on fire. So that's kind of the thinking behind that. Oh, yeah. All right, so that is my thinking. It's kind of, it's a little bit of what kind of game do you want to play, right? What kind of game are you playing? I don't want to play the game where someone's like, I'm a pyro, so I'm pyroing everything like that. That's just not what I want. Obviously, if that's, the game you like, that's great. Not for me. So what I'm going to do, okay. I had an idea here. Oh, I think it was pick one of. Right, because there's like dry and wet, right? Is that what it is? Yeah, because I'm thinking of doing the groupings. I don't know if this makes so basically, one of the ways that the four elements are grouped together is that they're a combination of wet, wet and dry, hot and cold. And I think and I was thinking for the other two, I could have basically like a combo, which I think, yeah, earth. Well, I'll just put earth. Oops. Pick one of or. Let's see. And then, yep, same. Let me fix some of this. This one does not need to be that wide. These I will center. Just be like that, right? Maybe I think I'm trying to remember. I still am trying to remember what I was thinking. Okay, passionate, bold, reckless. Right, pick one of fire, earth. Pick one of earth. I don't think I need of twice. I think that's okay. All right, pick one of air, and then so I think it was not flaw. Yeah, because I had the idea here is that part of what you gave the elements is that you gain power and resistance. You gain essentially one die with fire, with real challenges related to fire, including magic, but then you lose a die if they're related to the opposite. So this is kind of the right. So I think maybe it's just sort of changed. I might want to. I'm thinking now not to do this as a table. Let me just put it. I think it just will be like nicer to look at and something else. But let me just write. Let me just get down there. So. So for example, yeah. So. All right. So yeah. Let me. Yeah. I'm gonna redo this as a. I'll still need the table actually. So let me not lose the table quite yet. I'm gonna need another page. And let me do a couple of things here. Actually, I'll delete this for the moment. What page am I on? I'm on page 4. I need to add, yeah, a couple of pages there. I'm going to grab this to use as a template. The burglar. And I'm going to do it. And this will be, we'll just, what did I do? Fire. Why did I do that? Still want to be heading 3. I just want to insert that in there. There we go. Okay, passionate, bold. Nice outline. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I don't need another one of those. Let's go back to body. You gain +1 die in any challenge involving that invokes the element of fire. You lose 1 die in any challenge that invokes the element of water. Let me put the fire symbol. What's the fire symbol? Is no. What the hell? Thank you. Okay. So we got fire. I'm gonna have to make this. I need a new list. Need to make a new list because I want to do something a little bit different. And where's my bullet one? Bullet. I don't know. What's sure bullet alt. Alt. What's the character font? I know I had a. Hold on. What's the initial words? Was using strong. So what is the strong? The strong font is Fournier caps. Okay, so that's. Oh shoot! Hold on. No. I want to duplicate this. Turn off initial words. Fonts. Fournier caps. There we go. Passionate or bold. Oops. Reckless or arrogant. You gain 1 die in any challenge that invokes the element of fire. You lose 1 die in any challenge that invokes the element of water. There's my I can just basically use this as a template, copy and paste it a few times. I'll probably need another page. Earth is the downwards with the Earth is patient or disciplined. Oops. Disciplined, stubborn, or ruthless. Let's see, and they get Earth. And let's see, what is Earth's opposite again? Oh, it's it. I had to. Which ones are opposites? Why can't I remember now? So it's, what is it? Air. So it's fire, water. Oh, I guess it's right there. So it's right. Fire, water, earth, and air. Right. So it's air. Air is the opposite. There in the symbology. You just have to look. I will. I'll have to make another page. Oh, I actually have a page. Great. So I will just copy these two. I got to change fire to water. Where's the downward triangle? Water is compassionate or determined. And then vengeful or selfish. And then I just got to flip-flop these around. Okay, and the last one is air. It's nice that I'm finally getting to use these symbols, because I've had this font forever and I just could never figure out it. Could never find the occasion to use it. Now I finally got it. That makes me very happy. And what are air's things? Air is diplomatic or just. Oops. And then, what is it? Air, indecisive, or rebellious. Indecisive or rebellious. All right. Diplomatic or just. Indecisive or rebellious. Gain 1 die in any challenge that invokes the element of air. You lose 1 die in any challenge that invokes the element of earth. Great. Now I can delete these. I'll have to remember. All right, now I got that already. The flaws there. Boop. Fire. This is mud. No, it's metal. All right, air and water. Does air and water make? Do they have that smoke or mist? I can't remember air and water. What does air and water? That's. Thought there was an actual thing. Maybe I'm thinking of. Be rain. I'll call it mist. I'll have to put a separate things for this. All right. I think I'm going to have to call it for today. I know earth and fire make metal as kind of a pseudo element, but I don't know. I thought there was one for air and water, but I'm having trouble finding it. But I got to get on, put it aside for a little bit, but I'm glad to have gotten this section done to this degree. I'll add more things, and then I can get on. I really am. I have the big things to finish. This, as usual, things get in my brain, and I want to work on it. But I got to get out the kind of the basic adventuring loop stuff for players, and then maybe equipment, and then I'll be able to move on to the GM side of stuff. Anywho, have a great rest of your day, night. Thanks for hanging out. Have a great rest of your day, night. Whenever you end up watching or listening to this, game on, everybody, and I'll talk to you later. Bye now.